All right. All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming back for a second time. A couple important reminders before we get started that staff want to remind you of. Speak clearly and directly into the microphones. Keep your microphones on mute when we're not actively speaking to avoid feedback. And if you could identify yourself when making a motion or seconding something, that really helps them for the note takings. All right. I'd like to start the meeting off with the Pledge of Allegiance. If you'd please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Can we move on to roll call? Is that you, Michelle? Okay.
Commissioner Adewami,
Present.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Present.
Commissioner LeBrant,
Here.
Commissioner Erickson,
Here.
Commissioner Garber,
Here.
Commissioner Hamlick,
Here.
Commissioner Chrisley,
Here.
Commissioner Landisberg,
Here.
Commissioner Jay,
Here.
Commissioner Klein,
Here.
Commissioner Gasquet,
Here.
Commissioner Holmgren,
Here.
Commissioner Brenton,
Here.
Commissioner Haas,
Here.
and Commissioner Silliman.
Here.
We're all here.
All right. With that, we'd like to open for, do we have public comment today? Okay.
Carmen De Leon,
Where's my timer? Okay, there it is. My name is Carmen De Leon. I go by Mello De Leon, and I'm impressed to see everybody for the first time here. My understanding is that you guys are the committee for rules in the Clark County. And just so you know who I am, I'm not here to win a popularity contest, but I will tell you the truth. So I don't want to become Minnesota. And the reason Minnesota became what it is because of no checks and balances. People were allowed to keep getting away with it and getting away with it until there's billions of dollars gone. So just a little example, what I think is kind of foolishness money going through. We got the printout of Mayor Ann's expense account. And I think any normal person knows when you go to the airport, somebody drops you off and somebody picks you up to save the parking, whatever, it's always expensive. Well, not Mayor Ann, she paid 60 last time and we have the printouts. She also spent 40 on lunch. Who buys a $40 lunch here? But don't worry, it's on her tax expenses. So that's out of your all pocket. Okay, also, T.Y. Stober spent, I don't know if it was either 2,000 or 20,000 on a LTVG whatever conference or leadership conference. Does that mean they discriminate against me because I'm not? I'm a straight person and I'm not invited. But he had $2,000 or 20 grand, I'm not sure. Well, I can print it out once I overlook the expense account again. So I'm wondering if you guys have any authority over the city of Vancouver wasting the money and getting away with it. Long story, but I got kicked out for 6 months over BS violations and I can prove it. And I'll bring in the printouts for y'all next time. So other cities do not want like Ridgefield, Camas. I've talked to those people. They don't want to become Vancouver. They don't want annexation. What's another one? Oh, the ethics. So I went to the ethics. This is all Clark County, right? So I came to the ethics here and they pretty much laughed me off because I had a complaint about Medvigi. Anybody remember Mr. Medvigi? Well, he was very insulting to me, the public. So I think maybe consider that the public is the boss and we should be respected. And when we have ethics, they should have some pull or some sway instead of just doing whatever they're told to do. Because the city of Vancouver, by the way, I asked for their notes and they said that they didn't have them, gave me 2 pages worth of why all notes and all topics they didn't understand. So they're used to running around with people and getting away with everything. Like I've said before, we don't want to become Minnesota. And if you don't start watching Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, with all the money they're wasting, we're going to be Minnesota. She was about to get through with a $16 billion heist, I call it, with CTRAN. And Too bad it's over.
That's currently all that we have signed up. And I don't have anybody online either, so that concludes public comment.
Okay. Public comment. I told everybody to turn the mic on and then I didn't do it. With public comment being concluded, we'll move on to the approval of the January 14 minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose an amendment before we approve the minutes. Section X notes starting our next meeting on February 28th. And I believe that was originally discussed to be January 28th with some tweaks to come.
Okay, so it appears it's a typo.
Yep.
This is what you're amending?
I believe so. So
Okay.
Second? Does it need a second? Jay?
Yep. Please identify yourselves when you speak. Thanks.
All right, so we have a motion to amend and a second. Any discussion?
Can you this is Commissioner Erickson. Can you restate what the motion is?
The motion has to do with changing the date on the action, Title 10 or number 10 or X. It says February 28th was supposed to be our starting. We were shooting for, if I'm correct here, January 28th, which we'll talk about. So February should say January is all. Yes.
I believe when we talked last time, it was supposed to not start the next Wednesday because of the 14-day noticing. It was to be the following Wednesday, which would actually be February 4th.
Yes, and that's actually what happened. And this is just that we started discussing for every Wednesday, and we were going to shoot for next Wednesday before we found out we were in violation of the 14 days.
Chair, if I may, I do believe that in discussion of that motion, we were talking about January 28th. The revelation, the understanding that we had to move to February 4th was after that. But the motion as it was proposed at that time should read January 28th in the minutes.
All right, further discussion? All in favor of the motion? Aye.
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 All opposed? With none opposed, we'll see the motion carries.
All right, Mr. Chairman, with that, I will move that we approve the January 14th meeting minutes.
Seconded by Commissioner Nguema.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? With none being heard, the motion carries.
Will you please just get the name of the motion?
Eric LeBrant.
Thank you.
Sorry.
All right, I don't seem. I'm looking for the January 14th agenda. I don't seem to have the one for today.
It's in the front.
Oh, well, that would be why. Thank you.
You pull it out.
All right, so we've gone through roll call approved. Update on the regular scheduled meeting, commission meetings. We were just talking about that. We are going to continue forward on every Wednesday, 5 to 7, starting on February 4th. The reason we're starting on February 4th is we didn't give enough time for public notice to start next week. All right. Now we're going to get into the review of the draft bylaws. And I'm not 100% sure how this is going to go tonight, but I'm going to do my best. So,
Mr. Chairman,
yes.
Ann Donnelly, I would like to make a motion. And the motion would be, and then I'll explain why, that we begin our review of the bylaws today, working from Kathleen Otto's file that she sent out to all of us on January 17th, that track changes on the final bylaws of the previous commission, and that we accept all those changes. So that's my motion. And the reason is that I have reviewed that file and all the changes that were shown in redlining. And they all appear to be, in my judgment, well-founded, and that they improve the bylaws substantially. And doing so is going to save us a great deal of time tonight. And I think that is worthwhile. So I'm happy to further explain, but that is my motion.
Second, Peter Solomon.
Okay, Ann Donnelly's made the motion. Peter Solomon has seconded it. Discussion.
My only question, this is Landisburg. Then we're going to go on to the proposed amendments that were suggested by you, by me, and some others.
Yes, this doesn't mean that we don't propose amendments, but that we start with this file and not the previous commission's file. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Sure. I just have a point of perhaps confusion here because if I may, Commissioner, it was at your suggestion, your motion during our last meeting that we said we wanted to work towards the original bylaws. So I'm trying to compare that to this current motion to work from the revised bylaws, which you categorically stated at our last meeting you did not want to work from. So what's the pivot here?
The reason that I can now change and ask that we actually work from that file is that we saw the red line changes. And that's what we needed to see in order to make a judgment as to whether that was the appropriate file. And by the way, I want to credit Chuck Green for making that possible, and of course Kathleen Otto for doing the work. But Chuck Green was very substantial in making this happen. So is it now well understood why, having seen the red line changes, why I can now support working from that file?
Thank you. I think that clarification is helpful.
Okay, further discussion? And just to clarify, Ann, you're identifying the document that you think we should start with to make our amendments to, is all.
Yes, and I believe that we may have copies here of that file. Is that true, Michelle? So, because I was hoping that this might be the case, I requested that Michelle make copies for all of us of a hard copy of the file that we would now be working from so that we will all see, and it's evidently in your notebook. Thank you, Michelle.
Yes.
And Kathleen and Chuck.
All right, so there's been a motion. Is there a second?
I seconded it.
Oh, sorry. You got to keep up. Any further discussion? Not hearing any further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? With none opposed, that motion will carry. We will use the red line version that you've been prepared and given in your binders as a foundation.
Mr. Chairman, if I will.
Yes, sir.
I move that we go ahead and take up section 5 now to determine the officers setup and then go ahead and take vote on who those officers might be and then come back and go through the bylaws that way.
Okay, there's been a motion to move to section 5 and attack that one first.
Chris Lee, I'm sorry.
Is there a second?
Second, Landisburg.
Okay, there's a one and a second, or motion and a second is, how about discussion? Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, Commissioner Erickson, I would not support that motion. I believe that we should endeavor to discuss the bylaws in their totality before we move on to the election of officers, with one exception. And that is that if we feel like we are not going to be able to complete the review of the bylaws and elections before our meeting time expires, then at that point we would pivot into elections so that we don't end the meeting without elections having occurred, but that we continue with deliberations on the bylaws for as long as time will allow.
If I may, clarification.
Go ahead.
The reason to go ahead and get the section 5 done with the officers is so that we can have efficiency with it, so that we can get through all the bylaws. I feel like we're going to be mundane, getting into the minutia without having established leadership of the commission in place. I think we owe it to the voters who put us here to go ahead and accomplish that. I felt we should have got it done last week. So I think we should start with that today, that we can go ahead and move forward.
So noted. Ms. Caskey?
That's would actually require a change to the agenda. So just want to point that out. That would be.
I don't think we've approved today's agenda. So it's not a change of procedure.
Mr. Chairman and Donnelly, I would oppose that as well. I understand the good intentions and I can see some positives, but I think it's very important that we go first things first and that we march through this in a very deliberative and logical fashion. So I believe we can get through the bylaws in good order now that we are working from the right file. And so I would recommend that we complete the bylaws and then go to the election of officers.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I do think it's important that we move this up in the process. We have stated our intention in the last session to go line by line through these bylaws. We've also, if we draw on history, we know that this is a topic which takes time to get right. Not saying that we'll be prone to wordsmithing and trying to aim for getting the very best word in every sentence, but this is a topic that I think will weigh us down. If we push the election of the officers out to a third session, it's just, we're moving further away from our remit and our mission here as a commission the longer we spend on these bylaws. And I do think, just based on how our last meeting went and the amount of time we're spending on this now even, we're not going to get through them. To Commissioner Erickson's point, we might recognize somewhere in this process that we're not going to make it to the bylaws and should pivot to the election of officers. But I think we can tell that now already, and we should move that up in the agenda.
I have,
Further discussion?
this is Landisberg. I have a question in that there are, I think both Ann and I proposed, both Ann Donnelly and I proposed amendments to section 5 to include a vice chair. So are we going to vote on that amendment before we vote on whether we're going to have who we might elect as officers?
So my understanding of the motion is that the motion was to move away from going line by line to attack the officers first. So we would have to go through that motion first to see if we're going to move that to the top of the pile. We would either accept or deny that, and then we would make amendments to that article. Did that make sense? Or did I word salad that?
No, Mr. Chair, that's correct. We would move item 5 up, determine whether we'd have co-chair, vice chair, whatever that lineup might be, and then we would move to vote after that. And then that chair could lead us through these bylaws in the same manner, but it'd be the permanent chair. And, you know, maybe it's you, Commissioner Haas, maybe it's somebody else, but either way, we get to move forward and we have our officers in place. And I feel like that should have been done last week and we would have already had it completed. I think it's ceremonial at best. So it's best just to get it out of the way and move forward instead of drag it out.
Okay. Further discussion, Mr. J.
I fail to see how this would undermine our ability to execute our mission as a commission. I also fail to see how this would speed up our ability to move to the bylaws, as this is already slowing us down. And I think that it is absolutely imperative that we establish the bylaws and we can look at it from the perspective as a commissioner as opposed to the chair to be. And then afterwards we have our meeting. This follows the precedence of adopting this very charter. We didn't elect a county council and change from commissioners until after we finalized our county charter, nor did we elect George Washington, our first president, until we implemented and adopted the Constitution. So let's work through these bylaws and then we'll vote for our officers.
Okay. Any further discussion on pulling out the officers portion of the bylaws and moving it forward? Okay, not seeing any further discussion on just that portion of the topic. We'll go ahead and take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's put our hands up so we can count. 1, 2, 3,
There's
4. That's 4 in favor. All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Eh,
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The motion fails.
Does Michelle have all the information she needs? She's good.
Okay. Let's look at the proposals. I'm going to ask for some help from somebody.
If you'd like a recommendation, I would recommend we just go through section by section and you announce to the group and say, section 1, does anybody have any proposed amendments? Then you can check off section 1 and move to section 2 and work through the document that way.
That was my plan. I was hoping somebody could go through the proposals that we got from the commissioners and highlight something if I miss it, please.
Chair, if I may, I think there are commissioners who have submitted their proposed amendments. If they could be responsible for knowing that they've proposed amending those sections and speak on their own behalf in those moments. And then any other commissioners who have other amendments can also speak in those times.
That is probably a much better way to do it. Thank you. All right, so section 1 of the bylaws on the red line version. Are there any changes to that? Yes, sir.
Chair, section 1 currently lists the officers and should contain the officers of the commission are a chair, a vice chairperson, and a secretary, if that is how we choose to formulate the commission. But I do know that in the original draft that was sent out, it does line those out there as well.
In section 1?
Sorry, no, I apologize. My note is wrong. That's a 5-1.
Okay.
Apologies. I retract that
No
statement.
worries. That's been retracted. Are there any changes to section 1? Okay, not hearing any. We'll move on. Now, here's a procedural question that I don't know the answer to. Do we need to motion and accept each section at a time, or can we do it all at once?
I guess we want to be technical. There should be a motion to approve this so that we have discussion, approve the bylaws. Then we have discussion, go through section by section. Each section you propose an amendment to that section. We approve that. And when we get all the way to the end, we hold a vote on the original motion, which would be to approve the bylaws. Does that make sense?
Kind of.
Having said that, I move that we approve the bylaws that we are starting from. If we get a second, then we can proceed by section and people can propose amendments.
Holmgren seconds.
You got that?
I'm sorry.
Peter Silliman moved to approve the bylaws. And somebody else.
Holmgren seconds.
Holmgren seconds.
Which we're starting from? That was done early.
Thought we did that earlier.
We moved to use that as a starting point. I guess if we wanted to use that as a starting motion, but we need a motion that we are working on to approve at the end, which would be the final approval of the document, if that makes sense. Yes. For me or him.
Yeah, we've already approved starting with this draft. So I
Yes,
think we
okay.
only need to approve changes.
Okay, so if we want to go with that, we're starting with that. And
Yes.
her motion is like, we're approving the document, then we are voting on that motion at the end to approve the document. I just want us to all be on the same page.
Okay, so is somebody interested in making a motion to accept section 1 as is? Mr. J.
I will one up you on that and say, I move that we approve sections 1 through 4. That's possible.
I second that motion. Garber.
Kathy? That was John Jay and Kathy.
Hamlick here. I have a
Aye.
question.
Okay.
I do, if I may. I'm okay with that, but I do have a question on section 3, and I've had this here. It was the phone number that we may get responses to or may get requests from. Can I get clarification on how that will be relayed to us? If that makes sense what I'm asking, like you guys will receive the phone calls, but how do we get them to know that they came in? How does that look?
We'll send them to you by email.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle, I have a typographical question on that also. This still lists these area code as 360,
Isn't it?
section 3. Okay, nah, it's 564 for the county now.
What?
Yeah, we're special. Okay, so I'm got off track. I'm sorry. John J., you made a motion to go to approve 1 through 4. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And Kathy, you seconded it. Using that word. Is there further discussion? With no discussion being heard, I would move, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Okay, motion carries. On to section 5.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion and Donna on section 5(1), add a vice chair after chair. And then I have a further edit to add a little section 7 at the end. The vice chair will perform the duties of the chair when the chair is unable to perform those duties. So those two changes.
Copy, further discussion?
Yeah, I had a similar motion on the changes for the vice chair, but I put the duties under the subsection so you don't have to repeat it. You went farther and said in different sections to include the vice chair, and I thought we could just put it all here, the duties, and then not have to change all the other sections later.
I do think that they should be renumbered accordingly. So if we look at 5(1)A, that's the duties of the chair. If we're amending 5(1) to be the commission, the officers of the commission are chair, vice chair, and secretary, then it would make sense to me that 5(1)B would actually be the duties of the vice chair, which would then make the duties of the secretary 5(1)C.
Okay, so here's how I did it in the draft that you actually have at the back of your thing under the changes. Duties of the vice, so in section 5(1), the officers of the commission, I guess should
You have it as 5(1)B as well, yes.
and then B, the duties of the vice chair include, and I actually copied them from other bylaws of another organization, what the vice chair should do in.
Yes, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think we did a very similar thing here. I'm just saying that 5(1)B, which is currently reads as the duties of the secretary, would become the duties of the vice chair, and then we would renumber the rest accordingly.
The secretary goes to C.
Exactly.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying.
Mr. Chairman, I would observe that to add additional duties to vice chair is not the most crisp, clear, simple way of doing it, but I think I see advantages to making it very clear that the duties of the vice chair are those of the chair when the chair is unable to perform those duties. So I still favor that, though I understand there could be other duties.
Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, Commissioner Erickson, I would offer a friendly amendment to Commissioner Donnelly's amendment. And that is, that in addition to the vice chair performing the responsibilities when the chair is unavailable, in addition, it could be when responsibilities are delegated to the vice chair by the chair. That limiting it simply to the occasions when the chair is unavailable is overly restrictive, in my opinion.
Okay. Ms. Klein, did you have something coming? Okay. I just saw you grabbing for, didn't want to miss it. Yes, sir.
Sure, just to note, however, even if we were to amend that sentence, numbering it as 7 puts it under the duties of the chair. The duties of the chair cannot include the vice chair's duties, if that makes sense. So it does need to be its own section, or we need to change that entire paragraph, right? So I'm inclined to say we should not be approving this motion because it is listing the duties of the vice chair as one of the duties of the chair, which doesn't make sense.
That makes sense to me. I think we should have it as its own section, replace the secretary section of B and have that be vice chair, revert secretary down to C.
If I could offer a friendly suggestion, Janet, if you motion to amend her motion with your wording and get a second, then we could vote whether the people like your wording versus her original proposal. Does that make sense?
Yes, I would have no objection to John Jay's motion
I'd also
or amendment.
I'd also like to point out that you could withdraw your motion if you so chose.
I see no reason to withdraw my motion.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a couple of different amendments here that were kind of.
Has an amendment actually been made and seconded? Was Janet's made and
So
seconded?
can we first maybe simplify it, Ann, and first decide if we want a vice chair before we start talking about duties or whatever?
Exactly.
We need to decide if we want a vice chair or a co-chair. And so I would make a motion that we approve having a vice chair.
Second.
Discussion?
Isn't there already a motion?
There's a motion on the floor. So.
There is.
Here's where I would withdraw my motion.
And I'll withdraw whatever I said too.
Okay, so everybody's backpedaling. We're clear now, right? The table's clear.
And then my motion, Landisberg's motion, is that we amend section 5 to include a vice chair, and then we'll figure out the numbers and sections.
Adequately seconds that motion.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Hearing none opposed, the motion carries. Is it clear as mud, Michelle? Okay, perfect. All right, so we are going to move on with having a chair, vice chair. Are there other motions with section 5?
I would move that we adopt the language proposed by Janet in the section describing the duties of the vice chair and the numbering under section B.
Commissioner Gasky will second that.
Discussion.
Chair, if I may offer a friendly amendment, I would just like to point out that while the vice chair may serve as chair in the absence of the chair position, there should be some language in there regarding the vacancy of the office not being deemed an actual vacancy if the vice chair must succeed the chair. And so I think we need to add something in there.
Did you read her amendment?
I did. I'm looking at it. Yes.
It says if the vice chair succeeds the chair position, if a vacancy occurs in that office until an election of a new chair can be held.
Yes.
Does that address what you're talking about?
No. So what I'm saying is if the vice chair succeeds the chair, the vice chair succeeding the chair and being a temporary chair in that moment until a new election occurs should not be considered a vacancy of the vice chair position, and so should not trigger having to elect a vice chair as well.
Okay, what you're saying is if he steps up and is the chair for a short time, that does not remove them from the vice chair. They would revert back after an election.
Exactly.
Is the amendment that you're making.
Is there a second on that amendment?
Commissioner LeBrandt, I'll second.
My only question is, what is it the wording that you're trying to add?
Yeah. You need to come up with specific wording so we know what we're voting on.
Yes, the election of a temporary chair due to absence shall not be deemed a vacancy in the office of vice chair.
should,
Mr. Chairman, I still think it's important to establish that the vice chair will perform the duties of the chair when the chair is unable to perform those duties. And that's,
I don't think that's a question right now.
okay, so that's still within the motion.
All right. If we're discussing the amendment, I'll just say it. I don't think it's necessary. If the vice chair is just stepping up to fulfill the position because there's a vacancy, they aren't elected to that position. They're just filling that position because they're absent. And if you have an election and the vice chair is elected as the chair, then you would still have an election to elect that vacant position at that point. So I don't think the wording of this creates a vacancy or implies a vacancy in the chair position or the vice chair position. Ms. Gasquet?
Mr. Chairman, I would
Ms. Dawn,
observe that
recognize Ms. Gasquet for a moment.
that Janet's language says the vice chair shall preside at meetings in the absence of the chair, but there may be other circumstances, other duties of the chair that would need to be done by the vice chair in the absence, or if the chair is not able to perform those duties, such as speaking to the media and all those kinds of things.
We're going off down rabbit holes here. We're dealing with Peter's motion here about, did I get it wrong? I'm sorry. About Patrick. I'm sorry, Patrick. I apologize. About the position being vacated if the vice chair moves up. Isn't that where we're at right now?
Yeah.
Ms. Gasquet, you've had your hand up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think section or B3 here isn't necessary because if the chair's seat is vacant, then the vice chair is already presiding over the meeting. In which case, I think the bylaws handle vacancies of officers already in a different section. So we can just, I think we'd be just fine with just presides over meetings in the absence of the chair and performs the duties assigned by the chair.
Okay.
I can accept this is Landisburg. I can accept Gasquet's friendly amendment and I can withdraw little I3, the little from this part of section 5.
Since he's got an amendment on the floor, maybe you want to ask if he'll accept that friendly amendment too.
I'll withdraw my friendly amendment, but I do actually agree with Commissioner Donnelly's point that we need to revise the language in section B-I. It should read something to the effect of shall assume the duties and powers of the chair as opposed to presides at meetings.
Ms. Klein.
There may be the occasion where the chairman would need to pass the gavel to the vice chairman to act and speak as a commissioner, because the commissioners or the chairman's role is to lead the meeting. And if whoever is our chairman, our elected chairman, they should be able to pass the gavel to the vice chairman to be able to speak. And I don't think that's addressed here. Is that parliamentary procedures, or do we need to have that in our bylaws?
Mr. Erickson?
Yeah, Commissioner Erickson, that's a good comment. Commissioner Klein, I do believe that that's implied in Robert's Rules of Order and would not require necessarily an amendment to the bylaws to address that topic.
Okay, that's a lot of discussion on stuff, and I've kind of lost where the motions have landed. If I remember correctly, we have a motion to move on with Ms. Landsberg's amendment to the bylaws.
Striking section triple I.
Yes.
That was the amendment.
And I'm leaning on the rest of you to make sure that I'm still on the right track because we went a lot of different ways there.
I do believe, if I may, I might have misspoken there in withdrawing my friendly amendment without using the language to say I'm proposing a different friendly amendment, which is that we amend the language in section I to read, assume the duties and powers of the chair in their absence. so that we're clarifying it's not just presiding at meetings, but also the other duties and powers per Commissioner Donnelly's point.
Is there a second to the friendly amendment?
Holmgren seconds.
Any discussion on that?
Quick point of clarification. This is specifically for the section 5 changes proposed by Commissioner Landisberg
That's correct. We're on
and
5.
holding off on the
The
proposed
I.
section 7 amendments. Just want to make sure I'm understanding that correctly.
Yeah, we're just dealing with the vice chair right now. Is that true? Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion? All in favor of the amendment to change the wording to from presides? State it again, please.
The vice chair shall assume the duties and powers of the chair in their absence.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The amendment carries. Yes, sir.
I would move to change in section B2 to say perform all duties assigned by the commission rather than the chair. I think the vice chair is a officer of the entire commission and not necessarily a subordinate of the chair themselves. Holmgren, sorry.
Where are we?
Section 2 or section B2, perform all duties assigned by the chair. And I think the vice chair should be asked to perform all duties assigned by the commission rather than the chair. The vice chair seems like a role that is elected by us as the commission and should be responsible to us, not to the chair. They're not elected by the chair.
Okay. There's a motion on the floor
I'll second it.
and a second discussion.
Okay.
Mr. Erickson.
If I understand what is being proposed, it causes some question in my mind as to what will happen in scenarios when multiple commissioners are making requests of the vice chair, and perhaps those are in conflict with the wishes of the chair, or if there's conflict amongst the requests being made of the chair, of the vice chair from members of the commission. It feels like there should be some order there. If we do want to make the chair subject to the wishes of the commission, some definition to how that would be handled would be appropriate in my opinion, but I do think it might be simpler to just leave it as is and perhaps clarify that the vice chair works in cooperation with the chair who's been elected by this body. Both will have been elected by this body.
Okay. Further discussion?
I would think that that suggestion would cause great confusion because as Brandon has pointed out, there wouldn't be any, there perhaps would be more than one suggestion as to what duty it was that was being asked for. And then I believe it really needs to go through the chair.
Understood.
I'm actually inclined, this is Commissioner Adeguame, I'm inclined to say perhaps Commissioner Holmgren's comment has drawn my attention to this. It's possible we don't need that line. It's not a standard business job description. I don't think it needs an other duties as assigned category. It may be better, in fact, to strike that line from the section entirely.
Okay, well, the motion that's on the floor now, and I believe was seconded, is to change from assigned by the chair to assigned by the commission. Am I correct on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Can I have a comment, Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I would comment that most of the duties that the vice chair is going to be doing are outlined in the duties of the chair. And they perform those duties in the absence of the chair, and that might be partial absence. If there's something that the chair can't take over that's listed in his duties, he can assign that to the chair, vice chair. So I think that's where the description of their duties comes from. and they're delegated to the vice chair when the chair is not able to do that. So for that reason, I would like to see the language stay as chair and not commission.
Okay. Without further discussion, if there is none, then we'll move on to voting. And what we're voting on is strictly changing performs all duties assigned by the chair to performs all duties assigned by the commission. All in favor of changing that language signify by saying aye. All opposed to changing that language signify by saying nay.
Nay.
The nays have it. The motion does not carry.
I still would like to have a discussion about then Commissioner Adequame's suggestion that maybe we strike or have some sort of change to this, because I do think it still seems to me that there's a possibility that the duties assigned by the chair means that the vice chair could be asked to do a lot of different things. It's not clear to me that that is an appropriate use of the chair's role or where the vice chair should be.
So we just finished with your first amendment. If you wanted
Yes.
to make,
So I'm going to propose to strike,
this would be the time.
to strike section 2.
Okay. So there's
Ms. Chrisley, I'll second that.
okay, there's a motion to strike number 2 and a second. Trying to make sure Michelle can keep up with us. Discussion on that?
To Commissioner Silman's earlier point, I do think the duties that would be assigned are covered in that first point there in I, what did we change that to? Shall assume the duties and powers of the chairperson in their absence. That, to Commissioner Silman's point, covers partial absence. I don't think we need that second item. So I'm inclined to be in favor of this motion.
Okay, further discussion.
I think I'd like to say if you're in favor of what I said earlier and that the chair's duties as delegated by this commission are described under his, by him partially delegating any of that to the vice chair, that's exactly what this is describing, is a partial delegation, not the delegation of duties because he's absent, but maybe he's delegating part of his duties to the vice chair. So if that's what we want him to be able to do, and those duties are described, I think we leave the language in place and not remove it.
Respectfully, Commissioner, what it says is all duties assigned by the chair. That isn't just delegating part of the chair's responsibilities. That says all duties assigned by the chair. It's a little too broad. I think if you wanted to narrow it down to something that says, delegated duties of the chair or something of that sense, yes. But currently it says all duties assigned by the chair. That's incredibly broad. That could be anything. And I think we need to, perhaps in favor of this motion, strike that and acknowledging that the duties of the chair are in fact already listed there and contained. And we're saying the vice chairperson shall assume the duties and powers. We might say that we wanted to amend section I. So it says in the absence of the chair or as delegated by the chair. And that would get closer to the heart of what you're saying. But if we say all duties as assigned, that's incredibly broad.
Well, I don't think the word in context means that the chair can delegate to the vice chair to go get coffee for everybody. So it doesn't mean he can delegate anything. It means he can delegate anything that's been delegated to him. So that's my simple explanation of the context. And
I think that's the point he's making, though, is that I think that's why we just want to strike it, because the duties are already outlined in there. We don't need to further engross those. I think saying that, they're going to ask him to get coffee, I think is a little bit disingenuous.
Mr. LeBrun.
Mr. Chair, I think we've got a motion and a second, and I'd like to call the question.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
So what is the motion we're voting on?
The motion we're voting on is to remove section B2, performs all duties assigned by the chair, from the proposal or from the bylaws. I did not, I'm sorry, I didn't make that clear before I called for the vote, so I should have done that. So if everybody's clear on that, I'd like to revote. for all in favor, hold your hands up, say aye.
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 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 for aye. All opposed?
Nay.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Motion fails. Moving on. Is there additional amendments people would like to make to section 5?
Yes, Chair, I have an amendment.
Mr. J?
Under section 5, I would like to motion that we move what is currently section 4 down to section 5 and insert a new section 4 that would read, it's in the packet here on the last page, but given that we do not have a method of removing officers involuntarily, presumably we have a voluntary one if one can resign, but for this purpose, because we do not have a method of removing officers, we should have a means of doing so. And so I have a proposed addition, which would read in section 5.4, an officer may be removed from their position as an officer with or without cause by an affirmative vote of 8 commissioners at any regular meeting or at any special meeting called for that purpose. Removal from an officer position does not remove the individual from the commission.
This is Chris Lee. I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to propose an amendment or move to amend that we change it from a vote of 8 commissioners to a vote of 10.
Adequately, I second that.
Okay, discussions on that? No discussion on the amendment.
Well, I mean, it's John Jay's amendment, right? So we need to ask him if he wants to accept a friendly amendment to his motion, his amendment.
No.
Okay.
Sorry, point of order. It was proposed as an amendment and seconded, not specifically as a friendly amendment.
It was an unfriendly amendment.
Okay, well, one of the things that you guys are going to find out real quickly with me is this is my first time in a political office, so I'm trying to keep up. So if I don't get it right, I appreciate pointing out the fact that I needed to do something a little different. And if you would do that, that would be great because I'm getting confused easily, which happens a lot. So we have 2 amendments. 2 motions, I'm sorry. So we need to vote first on Eric's, right?
Yep.
And
The,
go ahead.
we could have discussion on the amendment before
Yes.
we vote.
Yes. Thank you, though. So we need to, your motion was to change it from 8 commissioners to remove somebody from office to 10, correct?
Correct.
Okay, discussion on that.
And then after we vote, it goes back to Commissioner Jay's original, either amended or unamended, depending on how we vote. So.
Okay, discussion?
So I want to ask, this is Landisburg, Eric, why you want 10? What's the logic behind 10 rather than 8?
Great question. I think with a body of 15, rather than, and considering our variety of backgrounds and perspectives and be it as it may, that I'd like to suggest that we start from a place of building consensus, and that I think setting a threshold of 10 requires us to have a certain amount of consensus that someone needs to be, looked at or removed, as opposed to, for example, a potential party line vote. So,
Mr. Chairman, are we in discussion? So could I discuss Eric's? Okay. Removing an officer from office is a very serious matter. And I would certainly go along with Eric's desire to have it 10 as opposed to 8 due to the seriousness of that deliberation.
Mr. Erickson?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do believe we need a mechanism to allow this body to keep leadership accountable. And so some means of doing that is appropriate. I agree with Commissioner Donnelly and Commissioner LeBrant that it's a high bar that we need to have in order to remove an officer as a serious matter. And I would support a number greater than 8. I could be comfortable with 9, but 10's on the floor and I could support that.
Patrick.
Mr. Chair, I also would like to voice my support for the amendment proposed by Commissioner LeBrant. I think, just to echo my fellow commissioners' comments, we shouldn't take it lightly to ever say that we're going to remove someone from the office that we as a body have chosen to elect them to, and setting a threshold that requires, to Commissioner LeBrant's point, consensus, true consensus, not just a simple majority, makes sense to me.
Okay. Mr. J.
I trust in our ability to sensibly make a decision should this body choose to remove an officer. I think we'll be very deliberate in that, and I have absolute faith in the members of this commission not to willy-nilly throw out an officer. But then again, I think an officer would have a tremendous difficulty in governing this commission without a majority. And so I believe a majority should be able to ascend an officer, and I believe a majority should be able to remove an officer.
Mr. Chair. Yes, sir.
I want to voice support for John Jay's position.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just to add, if the original amendment on the floor said that the removal was only with cause or for cause, I think that would drive me to say, okay, maybe there's a lower threshold here. But if we're saying with or without cause, which could mean at any moment, just based on the decision of the commissioners in that voting block, it really needs to be a higher threshold if we're saying that it could be with or without cause.
All right. Do we have further discussion on the numbers, the 10?
I would just say I agree with the 10 after hearing other commissioners speak on it. I think the with or without is a great point, and 10 being the higher threshold makes sense just because, you know, it keeps the body in check, I think, in a better manner.
Okay. So we have a motion to make it a 10-person to remove an officer from a position. And there was a second. We've had discussion. Is anybody not clear on what the motion is? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 1, 2, 3. And all opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4. The motion carries. So now I'm at a loss about John Jay's motion.
Now you're back to
And I think
approving, adding that to section 5 as an amendment.
You would call it his motion as amended.
Okay. Moving to the amended motion from Mr. Jay. Is there any further discussion? Go ahead.
I would like to remove the section that says without cause. I don't think we should be able to remove an officer unless there's a reason. I don't think we have to state specifically it's not a violation of a law, but we have to have cause. I don't think we should just decide tomorrow, I want to change it.
So, Mr. Chairman, was that comment, Janet, was that to remove with or without cause?
No, it's to, all right, where's his thing? John Jay's amendment.
Yes, John says with
or without.
Or without cause.
So I want to remove the 2 words or without.
Can you state that as an amendment?
I'm offering an amendment to John Jay's motion to remove 2 words. And those 2 words are without cause. So that it would be read with cause is a reason to.
Would you kindly clarify how we would define cause, or do we need to define cause? Or is it just so well understood that no definition is necessary?
Okay, I just sat through a charter meeting where they were talking about of removal, and they just used the word cause. They didn't go into any more specificity.
If I may offer something.
I think Ms. Gasquet was before you.
I would that we just remove with and without. Sorry, I would offer that we amend that to just remove with and without. This is just a process for removing officers. Because if we leave in the with cause and we're not defining what that means, then the officer who's removed may have grounds to sue us for removal based on, like, we don't have a definition what with cause is. I would say this is just a process for removing officers, and we don't need that language with or without.
Patrick?
Two things. One, I think Commissioner Gasquet's point is as well taken. We could push that down the road to that situation if it were to happen and decide in that moment if sufficient cause was established. But what I have in my notes here is that cause may include, but is not limited to, failure to perform the duties of the office, violation of these bylaws, conduct inconsistent with applicable law, or actions that materially undermine the effective operation or integrity of the commission. So cause, generally speaking, must be pertinent to the bylaws, the office, the commission, and the laws under which we operate.
Mr. J.
The intent of the with or without cause is an emphasis that this is a political body, and should 10 commissioners decide that they don't want you as chair is enough cause, whether they can argue it or not. It's similar in notion to the high crimes and misdemeanors within the United States Constitution. It doesn't actually have a defined definition. It just simply means whatever the Congress decides is worthy of impeachment. And in this case, we're a political body. Whatever we decide is worthy of removal from office, that's enough of a reason to be removed from office. Should 10 commissioners come to an agreement, they have to remove that this person should be removed, that's the cause. Whether they need to define it or not, that's up to the decisions of this body, and I want to protect that decision.
Further discussion? Yes, sir.
I would agree with John Jay on this. I think that whether we keep it in or remove it out, I think the intent is the same. I think the motion of it, having 10 people say, hey, we don't want you to preside over this body any longer, whether that's with or without cause, doesn't really matter. So we could strike it or leave it. It's the same without or with.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I would feel comfortable striking with or without cause altogether, given that we're talking now about a higher threshold, even if it's without some specific cause, but someone is just so darn difficult to work with that 10 people can't bear to do that. If we can get 10 of us to agree, that's probably sufficient.
Patrick?
Mr. Chair, just echoing one of my remarks on one of the prior motions, we have raised that threshold now, and I'm comfortable if we leave it in or take it out all entirely. I think we have a higher threshold and standard for how we go about that process. So,
well, the motion is to remove without cause.
Was that ever seconded, Mr. Chair?
That's a really good question. Michelle, do you have a
believe that was
second on that?
seconded.
I don't. Okay. I have not heard a second on it. How did we get to discussion then? I must have messed that up. Is there a second?
Body.
Well, if there's no second, then the motion will not move forward. Good talk, though. Go ahead, Patrick.
Chair, if I may offer another amendment to the original motion, given that the one in question did not receive a second. Just at the end, I would like to add, upon removal of an officer, the position shall be deemed vacant and filled in accordance with section V-, which would now be 5, given the placement of where this motion is moving the section 2 of these bylaws. So upon removal of an officer, the position shall be deemed vacant and filled in accordance with section V-5 of these bylaws.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor.
I'll second the motion, Commissioner LeBrun.
LeBrun. Any discussion on that?
I would suggest that it's redundant and unnecessary since it's already stated what we do in the other section when there is a vacancy. And this also says that they're vacant in an officer position, not in the commission. But either way, it's redundant because it's addressed somewhere else. So we don't need to repeat what's said somewhere else in our bylaws.
Point of clarification, or this is Landisburg. Section 8, it just says vacancies on the commission shall be filled. Okay, never mind.
Yeah, we're dealing straight with the officer positions right now.
Right, but it says vacancies will, it says.
This is V4, an office vacated by an officer, whether voluntarily or involuntarily. However, it doesn't say that the office is declared vacant in this section about removal that we're talking about. So we need to clarify that the office is deemed vacant at that time so we can proceed with summarily filling that office.
Okay, further discussion?
I don't think we need, this is Landisburg, that we have to clarify, because if you go on and read later, vacancies on the commission, there's a process to fill it.
That's the commission as a whole.
Oh, that's just the
We're
commission.
talking about vacancies in officers.
After an officer vacated, an office vacated by an officer.
So then it's already in here, how to fill it if someone else is removed.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Did it get seconded? It must have, because.
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I'm telling you, I'm trying to keep up. It's been seconded and we've had discussion. So all in favor of the motion, say aye.
To the motion to.
Yeah, I can't repeat the whole thing he said. The motion to add the section.
If I may restate the motion, Chair. Basically, the motion is to add a statement at the end of the proposed addition from Commissioner Jay, which would basically say that the position is deemed vacant and should be filled in accordance with the bylaws, which later clarify the process for doing that. Without adding that, I do believe the bylaws don't actually declare that position vacant once the officer is removed. So just wanting to tighten up the language there.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Hold your hands up, please. 2, 3, 4. The motion carries. All right, are we finished with 5 now?
Claire,
Please.
had an amendment from LeBrant to strike with or without cause, and that never got addressed. So it was an amendment that was still on the floor.
It never got seconded.
Okay.
All right, we are.
So Mr. Chair, I think my understanding, if I'm on the same page with folks, is that we now have Commissioner Jay's motion as amended ready for us to either propose additional amendments or to go ahead and vote on.
Okay, Mr. J, can you restate your motion, please?
My motion, as it has been amended, is to apply in section 5 under subsection 4 is to move the current subsection 4, which discusses how to replace a vacant office, down to 5 for the purpose of order. And then in that position in number 4, a new article will be added, which would say an officer may be removed from their position as an officer with or without cause by an affirmative vote of now 10 commissioners at any regular meeting or at any special meeting called for that purpose. Removal of an officer position does not mean remove the individual from the commission.
And
Oh.
after which it states, upon removal of an officer, the position shall be deemed vacant and filled in accordance with section V-5 of these bylaws.
That was seconded and we had lots of discussion about it. So let's go ahead and vote on it. All in favor of the amendment or the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed signify by saying nay. The motion carries.
Unanimous. Yes.
I have a motion. I think we need to modify, I move that we modify section 5, part 2, the last sentence to say officers shall be elected by a majority vote of the commission membership.
It was Mr. Holmgren.
Commissioner Gasky will second that.
I just want to point out that up until this point, there was no definition of how officers were elected. It was just that they would be elected by the commission membership and nothing about the procedure. So that was the reason for this amendment.
Where is it going?
Okay, could you restate the motion for me, please?
Yeah. In section 5, number 2, to strike, therefore officers shall be elected from the commission membership and replaced with officers shall be elected by a majority vote of the commission membership.
I'll second the motion, Commissioner LeBrandt.
I think Ms. Gasquet already did.
Oh, sorry.
Discussion, Mr. Erickson.
Yeah, Commissioner Erickson, I believe that if we're going to operate under Robert's Rules of Order, it defaults to majority, and that our bylaws need only address a deviation from Robert's Rules of Order. For example, if we wanted to have a higher vote threshold in order to affirm an election. Otherwise, I believe Robert's Rules of Order just calls for a majority.
Yeah. Further discussion on the motion?
I'll just add to that comment and say section 13 of our bylaws address Robert's Rules of Order and specifically state that they are the basis and are to be abided by unless our bylaws supersede or modify it. So.
Ms. Cascade, did you have something? Okay.
I'm fine withdrawing if we're all in agreement that that's clear. With motion withdrawn.
Okay, the motion's been withdrawn. Moving on.
Mr. Chairman, I think there may be a typo in 5.2. It says, therefore, officers shall be elected from the commission membership. Does it not really mean to say thereafter, officers shall be elected? That would be a question that I would put to Kathleen as to whether what it was meant there was thereafter. In other words, at first it's talking about the selection of the temporary chair, and now it says, therefore, is it not really meant to say thereafter? If so, it's a Scrivener's error. If not, then it's not a really major point, but I do think it makes more sense if it's thereafter.
It was thereafter in the 2020 bylaws.
Can I second and call the question? Just to get it over with.
So is it thereafter?
So the motion is, I think, to put in thereafter instead of therefore, correct?
Yes, thereafter.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that that's what, in several versions, it's therefore. I just want to make sure in the final version that it's thereafter.
Okay, the motion is to change therefore to thereafter. Am I correct?
Correct.
Thereafter.
Seconded, Adequame.
I already seconded it.
Okay, John Jay has seconded. Is there further discussion?
Call the question.
Don't do that. Mr. Jay, what do you need me to do?
Oh, just call the vote. Just
To
yeah,
vote, that's,
yeah,
okay,
just
trying to get there.
yeah, just do a quick thereafter, therefore thereafter vote.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Thank you. Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make another amendment. At the very end of section 3, we have in parentheses first, the number 1 and ST, and that needs to be taken out because it is not a monetary term. Spelling out first, I believe, is appropriate, and we don't need the 1 and the ST.
Second, John Jay.
Okay, the motion is to remove the parenthesis first from the bylaws in number 3. Is that correct? Any discussion? Hearing no discussion, those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Any motions for number 4? I'm not hearing any. I'm going to move on to section 6, staff. Number 1, any motions for there? Okay, number 2, any motions for there?
I'd like to make a motion on section 2. There is a typo in the subsection C, and it says statue, and it
yes.
should say statute.
Commissioner LeBrand, I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have first and a second. Was there any in-depth discussion we would like?
Call the question.
Not hearing any discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you for catching that. Underneath that, we have section or number 3. Any amendments for number 3? Okay, moving on to section 7, committees. Number 1,
Wait.
any motion?
No. Actually, I'd like to make an amendment on 3. We need to, it lists, it says by the chair and approved by the county, but maybe we need to say vice chair in the chair's absence.
Well, I think it's implied that if the chair isn't there, then the vice chair is taking over the chair's responsibilities.
Okay, I will withdraw that.
Okay.
Commissioner LeBrand, I'll make a motion that we strike the language "and approved by the county."
Okay, there's a motion to strike language "and approved by the county."
Seconded, Adequame.
Where's that?
Oh, Mr. Chair.
Oh, okay.
I think it's important to note that if there is anything that requires an expenditure, that it might have to go through county procedures because that's where your money comes from.
Okay, further discussion? Mr. Erickson.
Well, understand that the council has allocated $20,000 to this body. So that comment speaks to the mechanism by which we would make use of those funds. But given that, if the concern over that amendment is to prevent us from taking action without securing those funds appropriately, then I would suggest that we can make that clarification here. But I think the intent is that we can decide for ourselves how we want to engage assistance, and we don't need county staff to approve that unless perhaps it's with respect to financial matters.
Mr. Chair, we could simply make a change and say that take out approved by the county and just make it a separate sentence that if additional budget is required, such budgetary addition would have to be reviewed by the county. If there's many of these experts are going to be willing to give testimony or assist us without requiring payment, at least that's my judgment. And I can understand why a budgetary review would be needed if we're hiring a very expensive expert. So I can understand why that would be necessary, but I think it should only be for budgetary purposes. They shouldn't be able to approve just carte blanche.
Okay, well, the motion on the floor is to remove the language that says approved by the county. It was seconded and we're still discussing that portion of it, so.
Commissioner Moss, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Other items just for your consideration is we do have policy items such as social media posts that have to follow policy. And then another item, I think this was in the original one as well, but for county staff, we're here to support you. But if if the commission would say we want the staff person full-time working on this, that's where, I think there's some, go ahead. No, I'm finished. I just want to say, there might be some policy procedural stuff with the county, like with social media and how we're doing that we just want to make sure we're following all of our policy and procedures.
I do just want to point out, Chair, if I may, it says may support. It doesn't say must or shall. And so there might be other considerations, whether they're budgetary or policy considerations, but it's not a directive saying must or shall support. It says may support. I think the implication there is that those considerations come into play in that process. We're just looking to remove the approval step and make it more of a review step, it sounds like, based on my fellow commissioners' comments.
Correct. All right. Any further discussion?
I'll say that I think it's a mistake to remove it. I think this expresses that it's going to have to be a collaborative effort between us and the county if we are going to ask them for staff and support above what they outline in section 1 and 2 in here that they are going to provide as far as our regular meetings. If we want staff to support us above and beyond that, we can request it, but we need their approval for it. And I think that's really all it's saying is we're going to have to ask them for it. We can't assume that it's going to be granted for us. We don't have the ability to requisition or direct staff or compel anybody to come testify before us. So I would argue in favor of leaving the language there. It's going to have to be a collaborative effort if we want something done above and beyond what they're already doing.
Mr. J.
Commissioner Jay here. I do see the concerns that are raised about the approved by county, because we don't necessarily want to have the county's permission to have the sheriff or the treasurer come here to speak to us. And I think that makes a lot of sense. I also hear the county's point about there's potentially other factors at play. So what if we were to just, instead of removing approved by the county, we could say, and approved by the county and insert as needed.
Ms. Cascade?
I would recommend we pull expert advisors out of this sentence as they're not county staff necessarily. Then this section just refers to county staff. I think if we're just saying other county staff may support the commission as requested by the chair and approved by the county makes more sense. There's no reason they need to approve experts and advisors.
Well, in the last commission, they actually hired a professional facilitator to come in. That was an expense the staff or the commission had to ask the county to pay for. So I think that would be an example of hiring an expert to come in. And again, since it's a budgetary item, you'd have to say, hey, county council, can you approve a budget for us to do that? So in that sense, it would require approval by the county for us to do something of that nature. And that would fall under the description of an expert. Does that make sense?
Makes sense, except that that's just a separate issue anyways. Any of our expenditures will have to be approved by the county.
I think that's what this line is primarily addressing, though, is things that might cause additional expense or things that, like Kathleen brought up, there's policies that have to be followed, so they can't just rubber stamp whatever we ask them to do. They have to make sure it follows their policies and the budget.
But I have a question.
Ms. Lansworth?
If we want to spend money, whether it's to hire an outside lawyer, and we have $20,000, why do we need the county's permission to spend money that way? If we have
I can address the outside lawyer. You need the prosecuting attorney's approval to hire an outside lawyer. Any lawyer who gives legal advice to a county, elected official, staff, whatever, must be deputized by the prosecutor. Alternatively, you can go to the presiding judge at Superior Court and get the judge's approval. But it's not just the commission or the chair of the commission. Now, that's only with regard to a lawyer.
Okay. I think we're getting off topic a little bit here. And we could be here all night if we want to, but the motion, if I understand it right, is still to remove approved by the county out of that sentence. Did I miss an amendment to that, or are we good there?
Yes.
Okay. Is there further discussion on that part? No. Not hearing any. All those in favor for removing that language signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed, please raise your hand. And the motion has failed. Yes, Ms.
Commissioner Gasky would like to propose a amendment to this to remove expert and advisors and have this just refer to county staff.
Commissioner LeBrand, I'll second the motion.
Okay, there's been a motion made to remove experts and advisors and just have it say county staff. It's been seconded. Is there discussion?
Again, I would suggest that in this sentence, it is describing experts and advisors that we might pay or compensate for their expert advice. It's not talking about just somebody that volunteers to come down here and offer public testimony. So if we need funds to pay experts or advisors, we again are going to need the approval of the county. So I think it makes sense to leave those possibilities of hiring experts and advisors, as well as having additional staff support us if needed in the future. I agree with leaving the language in there and not removing it.
Further discussion?
One thing that I feel is a little strange about that is that this is in the staff section. And I don't think the example that you're providing really matches with what I think of our like staff needs would be. That's like outside, seeking outside support rather than like internal. It feels like it's a weird location for this, that discussion.
Mr.
I think Commissioner Sullivan, you're touching on an important point that I would maybe outside the scope of this particular discussion, but I would love for us to put a pin in chatting more about how we relate to county staff and maybe putting some clarity around how we go about spending money, how we go about having a budget allocated, that kind of thing. Because I think it's an important question. I don't know if we're going to settle that one way or the other on this particular line item, but I do think you raise an important question. So,
Any further discussion about removing expert or advisors language? Not seeing any other discussion. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Raise your hand. The motion fails. If we're finished with section 6, unless somebody else wants to change something, we can. I'd like to point out that it's 6:30. And we haven't gotten through all the bylaws yet, which doesn't surprise me at all because we're trying to be very thorough. But I know we do want to move on to electing the officers for this commission. So would somebody?
Can I make a motion?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. I'd like to put a motion on what we discussed in the very beginning. I think it's time to put this to rest for right now and bring it up at the next one, but it's time to do the voting for our next chair, vice chair, and secretary. Don't know how you want me to put that. What's the easiest way to put that?
Commissioner Hamlet, are you moving to table?
Pardon me?
Are you moving to table further discussion?
Yes, please, I would like to move. Thank you.
All right. I'll second that.
Okay. The motion is to table the bylaws for now.
Till the next meeting.
Till the next meeting, and it has been seconded. Is there further discussion?
I would add the motion was to end hold elections.
Okay. And hold the elections, yes. Further discussion? Not hearing any. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? One opposed.
John Jay.
Mr. John Jay. Mr. Erickson.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to suggest that we take a 5-minute break and then reconvene before we proceed with elections.
If I can grant it, we'll grant it.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. We'll be back at 7:35, 6:35. For some reason, I am a hour ahead.
Is that what that is?
I can't even remember my name right now.
When you're ready. Ann Donnelly, I would like to propose a motion to nominate Brandon Erickson for chair. He's very even-handed, respectful of all sides of any issue. He's diplomatic and consensus building, and he'll keep us on track to get things done in the appropriate amount of time. So I
second
nominate
that.
Brandon.
I second that motion. Commissioner Garber.
Chair, if I may, are you going to take nominations or just go through the first one? Just trying to understand.
I thought a motion.
No, I'm just trying to understand the process that we're going through here.
Yes, I was going to take open nominations in order from chair, vice chair, and then secretary positions.
Okay, so do those need to be motions then, as just happened, or should those just be?
Just a nomination would be fine, yes.
And they don't require a second.
Thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have Brandon Erickson has been nominated by Ann Donnelly. Are there
Mr. Chair, I'd nominate Commissioner Adewale for chair.
Okay. You're caught up. Are there any other nominations? Okay, not hearing any, what I'd like to do is give each of the two candidates, if you would, no more than 3 minutes to come up to the podium and address the other commissioners. However, you guys want to flip a coin, or I guess.
I'll let Commissioner Erickson go first.
Okay.
Well, thank you for the honor of being considered for this important role. And I'm Brandon Erickson. I come from District 2. Each of us has earned the right to be here and to have our voices be heard. And I believe that one of the most important roles of the chair is not just to facilitate organized and efficient meetings, but to ensure that, in fact, each of us does have that opportunity to share our views and to do so in a respectful manner, including in times of honest disagreement. Now, I've been a business owner for 20 years, and I have hands-on practical experience leading an organization. And as we heard in the public comment portion of our last meeting, one of our most important early tasks is going to be the development of an effective work plan. And in my professional work, all of my projects require detailed, unique work plans. So I'm very comfortable and familiar with that process. And to that end, and with respect to our work, I have studied in detail how our last Charter Review Commission functioned, as well as how other Charter Review Commissions in our state have operated, including Whatcom, Pierce, Snohomish, and King. I'm familiar with their work plans. And based on those reviews, I have developed ideas around a potential framework for how we might proceed. And I would be prepared as early as our next meeting to come forward with those ideas for this body's consideration and deliberation so that we can get moving. Now, let me also be very clear about my commitment to this position. You can expect me to come to our meetings prepared, and you can count on me to do the work in between our meetings required of this position. I don't hold another elected position, and I don't have plans to seek one during our term of service. This will have my full attention. Now, logistically, my office is in Vancouver. I can plan my own schedule, and if necessary, I have the ability to meet and coordinate with county staff during the workday. This body serves at the pleasure of the public, and the chair serves at the pleasure of this body. And I would enter into this role with a service-based mindset, remaining accountable to each of you individually and to this body as a whole. And similarly, I would expect that we keep each other accountable as well by honoring the trust that's been placed in us by the public and coming to our meetings, maintaining decorum and creating an environment of respect throughout our deliberations.
Thank you, Mr. Erickson.
Thank you, and I appreciate your support.
Good evening. First of all, thank you for the nomination. I truly appreciate it. I don't have such good remarks prepared, such grand statements, but what I will say is that I have experience in how meetings like this run, how commissions like this body are run, how they're facilitated, how discussion truly happens, and how the work is put first. If elected to this position, I would approach the chair role as a responsibility to manage the process. That happens regardless of personal viewpoints, the individual idea, and really even the background that each of us bring. That work is paramount. It transcends all that we have brought with us, our ideas, our agendas, be they personal or political. It is about getting this done. That is all that I ran on when I campaigned for this position, this job that I was elected to. I hope that it was a critical part of everything that we all sought in this job. My experience in chairing other commissions reinforces to me how important it is to communicate clearly, move deliberately, and keep meetings focused and productive. We have seen already in our short time together how hard it can be sometimes to make sure that we're maintaining the order. We've seen the difficulty that we've had with the rules under which we operate, with the bylaws that we will soon adopt. So my ask tonight, regardless of whoever you elect to this position of chair for our body, is to think about the focus, the productivity of our work, and moving that work forward. It is inherent on all of us as people elected by the voters of this county to put that work first. And that is what I seek to do as chair of this commission. That is what I seek to do in my day-to-day life. That is what I seek to do as a person who has chosen the hard and long work of public service. Let's put the work first. Let's do this fairly, openly, transparently, and make certain that we're able to operate smoothly. We don't want to waste time, taxpayer money, and the opportunity before us to continue to strengthen our county. Thank you all so much.
Thank you. All right, I think we have to call a roll call vote for this. Am I correct? Somebody can.
Yes.
Okay. Michelle, will you do that? Do we need a motion?
No.
Just vote. Okay.
Okay. We'll just go down the list and tell me who you are choosing. Commissioner Adewale,
Commissioner Adewale.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Brandon Erickson.
Commissioner LeBrandt,
Dr. Kadagweme.
Commissioner Erickson,
Commissioner Erickson.
Commissioner Garber,
Commissioner Erickson.
Commissioner Hamlick,
Commissioner Erickson.
Commissioner Chrisley,
Commissioner Patrick Kadagweme.
Commissioner Landisberg,
Commissioner Erickson.
Commissioner Jay,
Commissioner Erickson.
Commissioner Klein,
Commissioner Erickson,
Commissioner Gaskin,
Commissioner Adeguande.
Commissioner Holmgren,
Commissioner Adeguagwe.
Commissioner Benton,
Brandon Erickson.
Commissioner Haas,
Brandon Erickson.
and Commissioner Silliman.
Brandon Erickson.
10 for Erickson and 5 for Ottawa.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Yep. Thank you very much to this body. I appreciate the vote of trust, and I can commit to you that you will have my full effort and attention to this matter. I also want to extend a recognition and appreciation to Commissioner Haas, first of all, for being the one among us who received the most votes, and then consequently who was put into this position. Thank you for guiding us to this point. Thank you very much. Okay, we'll now proceed with the election of our vice chair. Are there any nominations for vice chair? Commissioner Landsberg.
I nominate Kathy Garber.
Commissioner Garber.
I'd like to nominate Commissioner Adeguame.
Commissioner Jay.
I would like to nominate Commissioner Duncan Haas.
Are there any more nominations? Are there any more nominations? Are there any more nominations? Okay, seeing none, nominations are now closed, and we will allow the candidates to have an opportunity to speak. I believe that Commissioner Garber, you were nominated first.
Well, I'd just like to thank you for considering electing me as vice chair. This is the first kind of commission I've ever been on, but I'll tell you, if I am elected to chair or any leadership role, I will give it my very best. I am retired now. I can give 100%, and that's what I'll do. I will put this commission first, make sure that what we're doing follows the rules as I'm learning them myself still, but I will do my very best, and I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe Commissioner Adeguame, you were next.
Good evening again. Thank you again for nominating me for the position of vice chair. I believe you've heard my comments during my speech about being nominated for chair. I would like to reiterate the importance of this process to me and the experience that I have in commissions much like this body. And I think that would be an asset in the absence of the chair, as we just clarified the vice chair's duties are. I don't believe that this position is one that really, to put it plainly, this is something that I think also matters. And if this is the position that this body chooses to elect me to, I will serve in it faithfully, fully, and to the best of my abilities. I think this is something that if you call upon me to do, I will do.
Thank you. Commissioner Haas.
Thank you for the nomination. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. For those of you who don't know me, I've been in public service for the last 36 years in the same employer. This is my first stint in the political pool. It very well might be my last. We'll see. But I've kind of shown you what I've got and being the temporary chair there. I bring a lot of skill. Not preparation, obviously, because you can tell by the speech I have here. I work well with people. I work within the county. I've seen how that machine works. It's not the most efficient thing. But that's because I've worked in government as long as I have. I'm willing to step up and lead if Brandon can't be here for something. I'm willing to do what needs to be done to move this forward. We have a very small window of opportunity to do a lot of very hard work. And so if you elect me to this position, I'm going to give it my all and do my best. That's all I got.
Thank you, Commissioner Haas. We'll now move to a roll call vote. Michelle, will you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Ottaguame,
Commissioner Adequame,
Commissioner Donnelly,
Commissioner Haas,
Commissioner LeBrun,
Commissioner Garber,
Commissioner Erickson,
Commissioner Haas,
Commissioner Garber,
Commissioner Adequame,
Commissioner Hamlet,
Commissioner Haas,
Commissioner Chrisley,
Commissioner Adequame,
Commissioner Landisberg,
Commissioner Patrick.
Commissioner Jay,
Commissioner Haas.
Commissioner Klein,
Commissioner Haas,
Commissioner Gasquet,
Commissioner Adequame,
Gren,
Commissioner Adequame,
Commissioner Benton,
Duncan Hoff.
Commissioner Haas, and Commissioner Silliman.
Duncan Haas.
You got it. So we have 2.
8 for Haas.
Congratulations, Commissioner Haas. We'll now move for nominations for secretary. Are there any nominations for secretary? Commissioner Hamlick,
Commissioner Garber, right here.
Commissioner Garber. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? And finally, are there any other nominations besides Commissioner Garber? Okay, nominations for secretary are now closed. We have one candidate. I would move that we affirm Commissioner Garber by unanimous consent. Are there any opposed to Commissioner Garber as our secretary? Seeing none, Commissioner Garber is elected as our secretary. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Get on the campaign trail and you're.
Okay, I believe that concludes the business that we intended to conduct today, given that we had tabled our bylaws. I would encourage us to review the remaining bylaws that we've yet to discuss. And in the event that we finish them in our next meeting, which I expect and hope that we will, I would also encourage each of us to come to our next meeting prepared to begin to discuss our amendment ideas and ideas for public outreach.
Mr. Chairman, I have something for the good of the order if you're ready to go.
Yes, we'll do good of the order and then we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Yes, my suggestion, due to the lateness, I think this is something we should discuss at the next meeting and put on our agenda. And that is whether we want to limit public comment to just topics on the agenda, or do we want to leave them open for whatever the member of the public wishes to discuss? That's something that we could actually even put in our bylaws if we decide one way or the other, but it's very important that we know which we want. So I would suggest that to be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Donnelly. Does anyone else have an item for good of the order?
Mr. Chair, I have an item that I don't think needs to wait for us to get more into the bylaws of the process, but one thing we could do to get a jump on things is to invite our county elected officials to come to our meeting and give any feedback or ideas that they might have that we might want to consider as an amendment item going forward. So just to extend for the chair, maybe to invite our elected officials to come and speak to us.
Commissioner Silliman, are you suggesting that we encourage them to come and participate in the public comment, or in a setting outside of public comment?
I would invite them as an invited speaker. So schedule them 5 or 10 minutes, whatever they think is appropriate for whatever items they have to speak. And I would leave that to the chair's discretion, how much time they're given.
Okay.
Can I?
Any other comments?
I would like us to finish the bylaws before we start doing anything else. And if we invite any of the elected officials, I think they should be able to speak right away. And I think we first need to get this work done.
Thank you.
Chair, if I may.
Yes.
I do, to Commissioner Silliman's point, I think it would be possible for us to ask for a workshop with that council, if that's something that we can do for maybe not the next meeting, to Commissioner Landisberg's point, but one of the subsequent meetings.
Can you elaborate a little bit upon what you mean by a workshop?
So this would be a workshop for county council or elected official feedback, given whatever part of the process we're asking them to opine on.
So, so in Whatcom County, they did just as you suggested, and each meeting had a different body, a representative from a different body, or a different elected official. Are you envisioning that we would devote, say, a large portion of a single meeting for this, or that we would have them come in one at a time over multiple meetings?
To clarify, I was just suggesting a framework. This is Commissioner Silliman's. I'm not particularly in favor of one setting or another.
Okay. I would suggest that myself, Commissioner Haas, and Commissioner Garber can collaborate on that topic and come back to this body with some ideas on how we could proceed.
I kind of envisioned as we extend an invitation. They say, Mr. Chair, when do you have time for me to come and speak? And you schedule them over several meetings, and each one gets to share just to give us their feedback individually and give us topics that we might consider as a body.
I would support, and I think what I'm hearing is we would like to hear from our public officials, our elected officials, and perhaps there's nothing that would prevent us from extending those invitations, but the schedule and the means by which they come and actually speak to us could be worked out. Yes.
Okay, because I know we were asked to put a certain charter amendment to discuss involving the county, the clerk of the court, and whether they should be elected or not. And I believe that when we invite the clerk of the court and we invite the chief judge, that should be at one meeting where, after we've done a little discussion, they can have at least 10 or 15 minutes each to make their presentation. And I don't know when that would be, but I don't want it to just be, I'm an elected official and this is what I'm proposing, because they've already come forward with an idea.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner LeBrant.
In terms of for the good of the order, one of the things I think you mentioned is coming prepared to talk about the structure of public outreach.
Yes.
And outreach to the elected body could be an example of that. I think I would love if we can, when we reconvene, if we come prepared to have a discussion about lots of groups that we want to reach out to, because I think that's one important one. But I think there's a lot of really important key stakeholder groups that we can reach out to. Also, just food for thought for us to mull over before our next meeting is to think about the timing of some of those discussions. I think we've got some kind of slam dunk or mostly slam dunk ideas that have been kind of, proposed while we're out on the campaign trail. And then some that might need or might call for more in-depth discussion with the community and more in-depth outreach. And so that affects whether or not we put it in stages for two separate election cycles and so forth. I'm not going to advocate for one or the other right now. But I think it's, food for thought for when we reconvene, if we're ready to dive into that.
Thank you. So a question to our staff. Can we allow commissioners to send in suggestions for these topics in the same way that ideas for amendments to the bylaws were collected and then synthesized and then provided to the leadership team for consideration?
Yes, we can do that. We can get that, send it off to you.
Okay. And we do have 2 weeks before we're going to be able to meet again. And my hope is that we can make progress during these 2 weeks. I'll be discussing with Ms. Cook how we can do that and still remain compliant with OPMA. But I'm hoping that we can have some dialogue around some of these topics over the next 2 weeks so that when we come back together, we have the benefit of having the opportunity to contribute to that topic and maybe make our next meeting a little bit more efficient with respect to these topics.
And I'm sure Chris can correct me, but we can send it and we'll put in there for your informational purposes only for discussion at the meeting. You shouldn't be dialoguing over an email.
Yes, understood. Thank you.
And I assume that comments that come in are posted under the Charter Review Commission. So you can go online to the county website to your commission and find.
Are you talking about open public comments?
No, I'm talking about the commissioners' comments and suggestions.
No.
No, they're not posted.
We receive them and then we distribute them to the commission for their consideration at their next public meeting. We don't.
Okay.
If they're part of the next meeting, we can post them, but no, we don't do that.
All right.
So
that would just be a way to engage in some education without an OPMA violation.
Chair, would you like that? Do you want us to post every email that we're getting from the commission online?
I'm going to suggest no. Okay. One last question that I have then. I know the last commission, when written public comments were received, they were read into the record in the meetings. And I believe we've received 2 written comments from the public thus far. Are they being posted? And if so, is that sufficient? Do we not need to spend any time reading them aloud here in these meetings?
We can post them. It's up to the commission if you want to read them into the record.
Remember that the last time was the COVID era. And so there were some extraordinary procedures that don't need to be necessarily followed now.
Commissioner Gasquet.
I would just recommend if the public comment is germane to our discussion at the meeting, that those are read into the, minutes. But anything else isn't necessary to read in.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I just have a question for Michelle. These binders, what do you want us to do with them?
Take out the information that you need and leave the binder. That way I can fill it.
It seemed like.
Thank you.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Commissioner LeBrandt moved.
Any objection? Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you.